Well, if you were the most intelligent human being, like you would, yeah, like Caleb just said, you probably just want to kill yourself.
Because no one understands you, and if no one will understand you, then no one will understand your pain, and no one will.
Like the whole point of the movie Idiocracy, like in it, was that literally everybody in a distant future has been polluted by like these subpar, like I can only call them trailer trash because that's basically what they were. Subpar like trailer trash genetics, like people that were below like average, like people that were like of like 55 IQ, dude. And like basically they bred so much that they replaced all the smart people because the smart people were like, the economy is not good enough to have a child right now, and I'm gonna wait to have children until I get older because there's not much point. And then they like wait too long and they can't have children because they're so smart that they just don't have them because they don't think it's a good time to have them. Or they're like, it's good stuff's going on in my life, so I ain't gonna have children. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you can't tell me that it's not true that people in like trailer parks, if they're like addicted to drugs, they're not popping babies out every 9 months for that sweet welfare check, compared to you know people that are of like a, I would say middle class standard. Like they only have maybe 3 kids. A lot of people adopt. Like more people than you think adopt. So like it was set in like a dystopian future, but like it's like almost true. Cause like I could see it happening.
That bomb was terrible. Yeah.
I mean, you can't tell me you couldn't see it happening. Like intelligence just gets kind of bred out because there's no point to have it. And it wouldn't even be like natural selection levels. It would just be like, well, this person was born, right? And then this person died. And then, like, that person was super smart, so they thought, well, I shouldn't have kids in today's society. So, like, their genetics never get passed on, but the people that are super dumb just pop them out because they don't even know what contraception is. And, like, if you look at West Virginia, right, like, it's like that. It's not even a joke. The people just pop them out. Especially in lower income
because
brackets.
they collect them food stamp benefits.
Yeah,
too.
in the lower income brackets, guess what is also followed through? Lower intelligence. I mean,
and you know what though? That is actually because I mean lower income.
Because lower income is lower education. I'm serious, and like we already have
also,
pretty shitty education.
If you think about it, if you were poor back in like certain times, you know. Well, if you were poor in general, the less resources you had, the more you procreated to sustain the next generation.
But if you also think, but like if you think about it that way, dude, IQ is a bunch of bullshit. Because for millennia, humans were fucking stupid. They had Big Brain 100, right? But they couldn't even use it because there was no knowledge to be held. It's all based off of knowledge, but like we got this jank ass base IQ quote, right? That tries to determine what you are. And that same notion.
I held point for like oh god, you got knocked right off.
But like you know, they try to like give you this jank IQ notion, right? Like your IQ is 110 because you took some jank problem solving tests, right? And you problem solved them better than the average of the population, so that means it's 110. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And does that really determine what you can do? Because there's an entire chart based off of that, like they can determine what you can do. But with some proper education and like a better income, most people would be smarter. And it, like if the education was better.
Look at this dude's aim. He's crossing. He was shaking like a stroke victim.
I never get votes besides from you guys. Deadass.
I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna leave the game. Probably not leave Discord though, because I'm just gonna FL Studio. No, not FL Studio. I forgot what I was gonna do. Anyway, yeah. What I was saying was people tend to blend.
Tell Haley to shut the fuck up.
People blend the definition of
what
IQ.
I was saying was
people blend the definition between IQ and intelligence, and what I would describe as
IQ is intelligence quotient, is it not?
Yeah, intelligence quotient, but your IQ doesn't. It's like no, I didn't mean to say that. IQ. What I meant to say was people blend IQ and general knowledge.
Well, people typically call general knowledge common sense.
Yeah, because if you have like an IQ of like 400, you still might not know. if you have an IQ of 500 and you kept in a basement, you probably won't
How would
know
you
as
have an
much.
IQ of 500 if you were kept in a basement your whole life, is what I'm trying to say. Humans for
Well,
literally millennia had no knowledge to be passed on. There could have been people that were, there's philosophers, of course. I mean, kind of stupid, but, there was philosophers that came up with ideas. But people originally started with nothing at all and then made ideas to pass it on for eons and eons and eons, right? Just by thinking, general thinking. Well, that general thinking is known as critical thinking today. And that general thinking, is what you could call common sense in a generalized idea. Because I think the root of what we call common sense is just that general thinking, that critical thinking. Because I could be like, well, I'm going to go stick my dick in a light socket, but the 120 volts, 15 amps of current probably going through it is saying, I probably shouldn't stick my dick in that light socket. And that's not really IQ now, is it? That's like your general knowledge of the world that you've acquired from the world. So how are you supposed to be Big Brain 100, right? Unless you're just Big Brain 100, but if you don't ever get that proper knowledge, you'd never be Big Brain 100. Because just because your brain is a little bit better at absorbing knowledge, absorbing information, and you're better at problem solving, because a certain part of your brain is a little bit better than most people, doesn't necessarily mean if you put them in like a third world country with zero education and like no wage, they would just buck out.
You're not a god of the game, Haley. You're not.
I am.
Ugh.
Wow, 7, that's a high number.
Haley's playing PUBG, the game that she said she... And now she's like... And now she's
70 kills in PUBG
Did
is
you listen to
nothing.
what I said, though?
Yeah, I did.
And I think it's basically what you were saying, but you know what I mean, like you said, if they're trapped in the basement. Well, what I'm saying is
If
a
they were
lot of it
raised
has to
in-
do with like low income or bad education or bad parents. Like you could have high income and bad parents. Like there's so many effects that go into it. Ragnarok always talks about nature versus nurture, which is like nature being nature obviously, and nurture being your parental care. Nature being like genetics and what's passed on to you from person to person, and nurture being how they raise you. And he's like it's 50-50, but I'd like to believe it's more like 75-25.
No, it's 75-50.
It's 1-1. I'm making a song in FL Studio right now.
Because if you think about it, right?
Dude, 1-1 would be 50-50 though.
You could have nature, right? Like nature on your side, you big brain 100. But if you don't have the proper parental guidance, you're never gonna do shit with it. And if you're born in the scum land of I don't know, where's the worst place in America?
Honduras.
I think of Detroit, but
Oh god, man.
Marlins.
and I'm not talking about normal Detroit. I'm talking about the bad part of Detroit.
Chicago.
Yeah. I'm talking about the hood slumland of Detroit, right?
Yeah, Chicago's the most violent city in the streets.
Yeah, I think Chicago, yeah.
So
And Honduras is the murder capital of the world.
and let's say that you're raised in that area, right? And your
You're born
entire
there.
life is selling drugs and doing hits or shit in general that is illegal and illicit. And you're hooked on drugs, right? So there goes your magical IQ number because you're hooked on drugs for starters. It doesn't matter how smart you are if you're hooked on drugs or drunk all the time. And Winston Churchill was a prime example of that. He was a great strategist, but he was always drunk, dude. He'd start his morning with drunk. He'd start his evening with drunk. He'd end his day with drunk. He'd just start with liquor, dude. And by the end of it, he'd be toasted. He might have 3 hours, but most of the time, they say he was just unconscious. It's non-existent. So he might have 3 hours of pure 100% unadulterated bad old strategic knowledge, right? Where he's I'm giving this war the boy hand, and he says, we're gonna put the tanks here, here, and here, put this here, here, and here, the gulag's gonna go right over here. No. There's gonna be no bread over here, complete communism, wrong person. But basically, if he wasn't so drunk all the time, imagine how fast the war would have been over. One of the best strategists always drunk. Imagine if he wasn't drunk all the time. And like that's the same idea. Like if you have somebody that's like super smart, brilliant, you know what I mean?
Well, it's like imagine if Hitler wasn't screwed over by religion. Imagine what he would do to the world.
Yeah, he was an amazing.
But exactly what I'm saying though, that's where that nurture part comes in. It can't be 50-50. How if it's 50-50, dude? And that means that people that are born in horrible situations should just be able to buff it out because it's a 50-50 shot, right? And that doesn't happen. People can't just buff out. They can try, but there has to be an opportunity. Even rags to riches stories have an opportunity of some form.
That's true.
There has to be an opportunity available. What if you just never get that opportunity? You're never gonna reach that big premium, high IQ, big brain that your brain can have. You know, that big IQ. But if you never get the opportunity to reach that, and that's where I come to my conclusion, which is, well, is it really all genetic, or is a lot of it based off nurture? How you're raised, because you understand what I'm saying, right? If you're born in literal sunland, you're never going to know anything but literal sunland. It doesn't matter if you have big IQ, because chances are if you're raised in literal sunland, you're not going to have big IQ to begin with.
Well, like, here's something to support your theory, right? I was like, when I was born, right, I was in a really trashy situation. Like, but the thing was, right, I had to figure everything out on my own. So I ended up, buffing out because, I had to be big brain just so I could figure out anything. I couldn't rely on asking anyone anything because I had no one to talk to.
And that happens, right? That's pretty normal because, like, there's people that just have to study. Caleb is an example of that, but Caleb has a really good memory. But Caleb is a prime example of people that have to, like, overly study, like, really work hard to get.
But here's the thing, right? Deontay's straight autistic, but like if you pay attention when he's talking to his dad, dude, every time he doesn't know something, hey dad, what's this? Well, he says daddy, so it's like, hey daddy, what's this? Hey daddy, what's that?
Dad, dude.
But like that's the thing, dude. Like notice that the people who literally didn't, like most of the time, people who don't have good parents, they end up buffing out.
Jordan.
Yeah.
I remember asking, hey dad, where's? Oh wait. Man.
Rest.
He was always gone, dude. You're like, hey dad, how about...
My dad went to jail when I was 3, and I never said hey dad to anybody.
Hey dad, how about the... Oh.
Hey dad, how about them Rice Krispie Flakes?
And no, dude. You're like,
how about the Funyuns? Gets backhanded.
Your mom's like, now, what
But
makes...
like,
now...
you may buff out, right? But you understand what I'm saying.
I was eating Funyuns and
because like that's the United States situation. I'm talking about people that are like have no way to buff out. You had a way to buff out.
No buff out potential.
If you take away literally everything, you have no way to buff out. If you drop some person, like let's say that you could cryo test tube a baby, right? And you drop him off in some unpopulated desert. You think he's gonna figure out how to get water and food for himself?
No.
Like, let's say he's like 5 or 6 years old, right? And like you somehow manage to completely erase his memory, but like give him basic thinking of a 9 or 6-year-old. Is he gonna buff out when you place him in the wilderness? No. How would he know to buff out? He's not just gonna like go if he's like in the desert or something. He's not gonna go deadass go to some water source in the ground and try to drink it. He'll probably die. And if he doesn't, he'll go to like a pond or something, right? And drink out of the pond, and he'll get like some disease and die from that. You think he's gonna know that there's diseases in the water? No.
Sorry, just ignore all the stuff.
Like, you understand what I'm saying, though, right? Like, you can't be Big Brain 100 if you never had the opportunity to be Big Brain 100 at all.
Yeah.
Because what people consider Big Brain 100, right, is just a bunch of non-binary, super uncategorized information. It's a lot of jank information. It's like if you had a 18 terabyte hard drive of information and like it was all just like jank ass Wikipedia articles. That's basically the human brain. And I think what really separates a lot of people is the fact that some people can just jank ass do it a little bit better than everybody else can. But can they really though? Because that person that is chalked up to be like 180 IQ that you're looking at and you're saying, man, life must be easy for him. Everything's handed to him, dude. Because he's got big brain 100. He can just do everything. He doesn't even have to do his math problems because his brain's a literal calculator. I mean, sure, some people like that do exist, but, you know, like, he doesn't have to do anything.
It's quite the rare occurrence.
Yeah, it's super rare. And, like, you can have an extremely high IQ, but, like, doesn't mean that you can just buff out of all your schoolwork.
Yeah.
From the shadows.
Like, you're not fixing that. And if you never had that to begin with, like, what I'm really trying to get at is, like, people are like, it's all chalked up to genetics.
Yeah.
But I like to think that you could achieve anything if you really, really put your mind to it. Unless your situation...
Dogry's saying something positive? Oh my god.
Unless your situation is so ass that you can't.
Oh god, here it comes.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean, though.
But, like...
Oh!
Here's another example. Look at Albert, right? His entire situation was ass. He didn't buff out. Jordan, you're like, well, I buffed out. But Albert's situation is ass. Premium ass.
Yeah.
Premium ass.
Well, I buffed out because I don't know.
Do you know why you buffed out?
Jeez.
Is that where the genetics come in? I don't want to believe that. Because, like, you don't know how Albert was raised compared to you, because you can't just, like, magically be like, Albert, show me the last 19 years of your life. Do the Star Trek mind meld, dude. And then if you've seen, like, all of 19 years of Albert's life, you might be like, wow, no wonder you're stupid. But I don't mean he's stupid, like, in that kind of sense. You know what I mean?
No wonder you're stupid.
You know what I mean? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
no wonder you can't read. Like, no wonder you're doing. The school never put you through this because, like, they've treated you like shit. Like, I'm saying, like, it's not based off of him. I don't believe that at all. Albert can learn just as much as you or I can learn. He just learns in a different way. And now it makes it sound like I'm saying he's retarded. But
Well, he kind of is. Like, I don't mean to say it like mean, right? But like, the actual definition of they can't talk or like speak well, and like he can talk, right? But he can't properly communicate with human beings.
yeah, but
he can't
you
read and
think
write.
I know why? It's because of how jank his life was. That's what I'm trying to get at. I mean, obviously there's
Yeah.
people with actual mental disabilities, right? And they really can't help it. There's people with mental disabilities that have perfectly normal parents, and that can't be fixed. But Albert is not one of those people. And if you've ever actually talked with him, like, I don't think you've ever sat down with Albert. Caleb, even you should know this, and you don't even really talk to Albert that much. Albert is not the type of person that, like, he's just so stupid he can't learn nothing at all. Like, he can't...
Yeah, Albert, to be honest, Albert is he's pretty intelligent a lot.
Yeah. But it's
I
like...
mean, I can tell.
He had a lot of potential, it just kind of got
It's the potential got ruined, and that's what I'm trying to say. It's like, if the potential gets ruined, right, you're never going to reach the big brain, but if the potential gets ruined, are you really... Because if he took an IQ test, he'd probably score like an 80 on it, because he can't even... Or less, because he can't even read, right? They think, wow, this dude's stupid, because he can't even read. But is that truly the case? Because his parents fucked him up. If he had potential, but his parents really fucked him up, and like his entire life basically fucked him. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what would have been, you know, earlier you said, like, what if Adolf Hitler wouldn't have been ruined by religion? Well, what if Albert Collins wouldn't have been ruined by, like, his entire life? What if he had had supportive parents, a good education system, parents that literally talked him in to everything and, like, tried to enforce him doing stuff, like a school system that was like, Albert, you know, we're going to help you. We're not going to just boy hand roast you, say that you can't read when you're, like, 6 years old, and then put you in special ed classes because we don't even want to teach you how to read. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like, and just because of that, if he take an IQ test, he'd probably be like I said, like 60 or 70. But if he could read, like increase by 10. But if he had what I said, it'd probably be like 80 or 90 or 100, dude. So you see what I'm saying? Like they're like, oh, it's purely genetic based, and it's like 50-50 nature versus nurture, like Ragnarok says. But if that was the case, right? Then Albert should magically buff out, because anybody that's talked to Albert should knows that he's got potential to do something. But that potential is not guided. That's why I'd like to think it's like a 25-75. It's dependent on like the nurture, how your parents act, and your education, and everything else that comes along with that. I mean, we can all agree on that, can't we?
Yeah.
Like, I've been ranting for like 20 minutes, and nobody's basically said anything.
No, I'm just listening to you. Dude.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm listening. I don't like to say anything until I get the full story, because I'll be like, well, Nathan, this, and you're like, well, I was gonna say this, and you know.
Well, I think I'm pretty much coming to your stop. That's like my spectral analysis on IQ.
Plus, I'm making a song with.
Like, what is IQ? And like Caleb, you said it was general knowledge, right? But people confuse that general knowledge and IQ.
Yeah.
But in theory, like that general knowledge should help your IQ.
I think IQ isn't how much you know, but how much what your ability to learn is.
Yeah.
Notice that a lot of IQ tests are like random puzzles.
Well, that's most of what it's based off of, right? It's random
literally
puzzles.
It's your ability to learn, rather than can you learn or how much you know. It's your ability to learn and figure out stuff.
Well,
I mean, definitely intelligence is obviously a factor.
When I went to take my IQ test, do you know what kind of IQ test it was?
Hmm.
It was like a school grade intelligence test. Like it was like work. It was like math problems, history, science, shit like that. That's not intelligence. That's generalized information. But I tried to fail it, dude, because I was trying to get a check. I'll readily admit to that. I tried to get a lower IQ than what I got, and you know what I got? Above normal, above average. I just got above average on an IQ test I was trying to fail.
I wish I could put what was in my head into FL Studio. I need a producer, dude.
And I also think, like, in the nature versus nurture department, what I was saying is, like, if your parents never enforce that, how are you supposed to know that you're supposed to learn and be attentive? You know?
Mm-hmm.
Caleb, like, for instance, when you were young, your mom taught you how to read. Like, she would read shit to you and taught you how to read. My mom did the same thing. And, like, honest to God, I think that helped me big brain 100.
I think that it helped me a lot. Like, I was reading books whenever I was 3 years old.
And, you know,
I was reading to the kindergarten class, or the pre-K class, yeah. And a big part of that was because my mom, really helped me with that sort of.
I learned to read in school.
Razor Chroma.
But, like,
that's not a VST.
But they also say, the best time for you to learn anything is when you're young. Like, especially instruments. They say it's easier to learn instruments and new languages when you're real young. And that's probably why Asian countries teach kids, they give them the boy hand. They're like, study, learn this, learn that, right? When they're really young.
The US is like, how do you count to 10? I don't know. Wow, kid. Okay, it's 1, 2. All right, that's being kindergarten.
And then they like treat you like you're absolutely retarded, and that makes you like absolutely retarded. You know what I'm saying?
Makes you feel retarded.
I didn't learn anything from the education system, and I feel like if they force more on kids, the big IQ, the big brain 100 would be higher. And actually, what I just said should prove that it's based off of nature versus nurture, and like how well you're educated. Because you know what Asian countries have higher than the United States? Higher IQs.
Yeah.
You know why? Because they're forced to fucking study their asses off. And you know what else is ridiculous? I'm pretty sure that I've read in multiple studies before that if you learn one instrument, your IQ is said to increase by 10 points.
Yeah.
Learning an instrument increases your IQ by 10 points, dude. I know recorder.
I know the recorder too. I think we all know the recorder.
I don't remember the recorder, but I can play piano.
But let me tell you this much, dude. Like, if that's the case, I can learn instruments. I just don't have the want
say
to
learning
do it.
a new language also increases your IQ by.
Now, here's the thing, though. Like, this is something that that like learning English, or like not learning, like learning languages and learning instruments, right, increase your IQ by like 10. But like if that was the case, right? Well, I know I used to know recorder. I sort of still remember it now, right?
Yeah.
I know how the violin's played. I can't play it, but I know how it's played. I know how to play the piano, right?
Like,
I know English.
Well, let
I
me
know.
put it like this. I know how to play guitar, but you know what stopped me from playing guitar? Because I don't want to build a fucking callus on my hand, and I don't have the hand coordination. That's it. I can read sheet music.
Guitar, piano, violin, okay, and recorder.
And
so
I
that's
could learn
4.
the chords.
And then English, with obviously English counts. Japanese, Korean, so that's 7.
I'm gonna say mastering the language, not just having a knowledge of it.
For like an instrument like your standard acoustic guitar, right?
Yeah, and by learning it, it's.
You're never going to master a language 100% complete, dude. You're always going to have a word that's going to be like, oh, wow, that word exists.
Of course, that. But what I mean by master is through...
To speak it.
Yeah.
It's
to
like
speak it. I can speak it.
But let me put it like this. Would you say that you're a master at English? The English language?
No one's a master at English.
No. Yeah, exactly, no. And it's not like you're Eminem, dude, and you remember the entire Webster dictionary so you can produce a better rap. Like... But at that logic, shouldn't that mean that like he's big brain IQ 100,000? Remembers like the entire Webster's dictionary, so he can rap better.
But like, thing is, he's really not that smart.
Oh no! Now we're gonna get flagged from Eminem fans. Rest.
Well, he's clever, but he's not smart.
But like, that's just remembering, is it not?
Guys, I think I'm gonna end this discussion here. I gotta go.
Oh, Caleb, before you go, let me hear me out on this one last bit. What I was going to say about instruments, right? It's all most of it is learning chords and chord progression and how to read music, correct?
Yeah.
Well, how do you learn that? Memory and muscle memory. What is piano and guitar playing? What is it all? Muscle memory. What's playing Overwatch? Muscle memory. Video games are muscle memory. Anybody that plays video games, realistically, if they had to set their mind to it, should be able to play an instrument. But you know why they don't? Because it's boring.
It takes a while.
It takes a while and it's boring. Unless you have strive to learn an instrument, you're not going to learn an instrument.
I like learning instruments. They just take a while.
But you understand what I'm saying. And like,
I would be able to master the piano if I wanted.
And if you don't practice it, you lose that muscle memory, and then you come back to the piano and you're like, I don't remember how to play this. Like, of course you don't remember how to play it. It's been 20 years since you last played it. It's not because you got dumber, it's because you forgot the muscle memory. Your hands don't know how to play. It's the same shit when you play Overwatch. All day to day, where you're not really rusty from not playing for a while. Nobody's gonna answer that question.
Well, I remember saying that, like, I literally couldn't play deliver.
I'm a bit busy.
Were you rusty at all, Caleb?
Oh wait, say that again, sorry.
Were you rusty at Overwatch when we started?
Like just now or like in total?
And just like when we first started, dude. Were you like a little bit rusty? You had to do a couple warm-ups, right? You weren't like 100% full caliber, like muscle memory 100. Well, if you don't, how long is the? What's the biggest hiatus you have been took away from Overwatch?
Like 6 months.
6 months is about how long I did. Okay, so when you came back to it, right? You're pretty ass at it, right? The muscle memory wasn't there. You weren't like
pretty trash.
You weren't like pro 100, were you? You might have remembered how the game was played, but you weren't pro. You weren't as good as you are.
I stopped playing in like September. I got back on the game, did the Christmas event, but that's pretty much it.
But it's the same shit though. Like if you don't practice this shit every day, you get rusty as fuck, dude. Like
yeah.
When I went on my 6-month hiatus and came back, dude, I played like a silver. And of course, there's a limit to your muscle memory. But that's what it really comes down to. Because I'm playing Genji right now, dude, and I'm so dead-ass tired, I ain't even paying attention to anything, but yet I'm playing him, am I not? And when I was playing Reaper earlier, I was dead-ass tired, but I had gold medals and shit like that. It's muscle memory, it's not my brain. But it is my brain, you know what I mean?
Your brain creates the memory, but like, it's memory, so your brain pretty much turns into something that's just subconscious and you don't need to think about.
Exactly. And that's what guitar and piano and any instrument really comes down to. It's just that muscle memory. Because you practice it, that's the point of practicing it, and then you get good at it, right? And you can just do it. That's how people play guitar. You think that they're thinking, well, this is this chord and this is that chord. Their brain is like autopilot mode 100. That doesn't mean they don't miss a chord because their brain might screw up. But like it's not as hard as it would be for somebody that's just learning the chords. You know what I mean? And that's
like
what true mastery is.
Lee Rama, the creator of River Flows in You, every time he played the song, he would play it differently because he never wrote it down, but it would always still be the same song, just a couple chords would be different or timing would be a little bit different. But that's him going like months to years without playing the song, and then like getting on a concert and being like, well, I gotta play the song for this concert.
And he just forgot. It's like, you know, it's like of course it'd be a little bit off, but you know, it's pretty much spot on. And that's what I was saying, like if you go like 20 years without playing the guitar, dude, and you come back to it, you're gonna be like, wow, I can't play worth shit. I was good at this once. It's cause that muscle memory just fades. And it's basically your brain getting rid of it, but it's not really getting rid of it, it's just dormant memory.
Yeah. Deep memory.
And it's like that's basically what PTSD is. Like you get a deep mental scar that just doesn't go away. There's plenty of events in people's lives where they get like deep mental scars, right? And then like every once in a while they'll get a Vietnam flashback. Like people like to think, well, I have a shit memory because I can't really remember immediate things. But if it gets brought up in conversation, guess what your brain does? It's like, wow, I remember that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, buddy.
And I remember Albert used to say, well, it's all false memories. Like, most of it's false memories. Well, some of Albert's is. Like, no lie, Albert does make some false memories. But when something gets brought up, and it hasn't been brought up in a long time, and you think about it, and you're like, wow, I actually remember that. You're not just remembering it because they told you you're remembering it. You're like, you typically add some details onto it in your brain. You're like, wow, and then you're like, I remember when blah 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 happened too. You know what I mean? And by the way, the jank version of Ragnarok is on the tune. It's Ruagok.
Yeah, I've seen that. Ruagok. Rurigok, more like your hot. Dab on.
How is it all the same root? That's not possible.
Like, I guess I'm just going big brain 100 mode over here or some shit.
Flexing.
But
These haters, boy.
I ain't flexing on nobody, dude. I'm just saying, like, if you get fucked in life at the beginning, like, I don't think you're magically gonna buff out. There's got to be something that makes you buff out.
Yeah, if you're dealt a pretty crappy hand of cards, I mean, just there's no like pop back into place unless you're like super positive 100.
Yeah, but if you never had that positivity imbued, how are you supposed to be super positive 100?
Exactly.
Like, if your parents treated you like absolute shit, I mean, of course there's like the child's innocence. But you know why children are innocent, right?
Oh, I mean, I was gonna say, there is like the case with Anne Frank in Nazi Germany. You know, she was born into, but separated from a life of optimism. You know, she wasn't really living relatively well before she got captured. So, I think maybe some of it comes from your own self.
Yeah, but like, think of it like this, right? Okay, Caleb? Well, it's true that she lived a crappy life. She was probably always told it would get better, right? So when she was in that situation, she would keep in mind, well, it would get better, it'll get better.
That's what I like to think.
How many times have you been told it'll get better and, like,
but that's just you thinking, dude. You're big brain 100. She might have believed that. That's how positivity happens, dude.
Having faith.
Yeah. And like I've said it before, that's why religion is good. Religion is good for people, especially people that need something to hold their life together. Because if you're like, there's no God, all that's out there is cosmic space dust, and that's it, you get fucked, right?
Yeah.
Well, like, that's pretty harsh, dude. Like, that hurts your brain. It's cold. It's like, well, there's nothing to look forward to besides there's the solace of death. And then that's when you start thinking like that. You're like, wow, solace of death. Sounds pretty good if I got nothing to look forward to. But if you're like, I'm going to heaven, Jeebus is going to give me a $10 million gold mansion, you're trying to stick to your worldly possessions.
But I can't kill myself because then I won't get to go.
Because I'll go to hell. I'll go to a place that was created by God.
To torture
me for the rest of my life, so I better believe. But
crazy.
it's a damn good thing though, ain't it? Like if you think about it, like you're like, wow, that's really believable. And you know how we said Anne Frank had faith and it was imbued to her from a young age. You know what is imbued to people at a young age?
Religion.
Religion. Yep. And do you know how people snap out of religion? Other people. If you never have that opportunity to snap out of it, you're never going to snap
It's
out
like
of
other people or the world around them.
Well, that's what we mean. Like the world around
The
them.
world
right?
around them is other people, though. What I'm saying is, if you're confined to an Amish village, right? Like
Yeah.
that's like you have to understand what I'm saying. Like I don't think it comes from genetics. There's no way that like you're born, Caleb, and like you're gonna be the person you are today. It was not. I don't think there's like a predestiny, right? I don't think anything is foretold.
Mhm.
And people,
I don't think that. Yeah, I don't think that everything's ordained.
people like to think everything is foretold, and if it happens, it happens. Like, and if it happens, it's meant to be. And with religion, like the stigma is, well, if it happened, God's just testing you. That's what's going on.
Yeah, if it happens, God's just testing.
But like, if
Yeah, but-
if you smoke cigarettes for your entire life, right, and you get lung cancer, you're gonna be like, God's just testing me.
Yeah, well, they say that it's just another.
Oh, you smoked your entire life and worked in the coal mines and you inhaled coal dust, and now you got black lung and lung cancer. But it's just God testing you, dude. It's just a test. And people that die to shit like that, is that God saying you failed the test? But
Yeah, dude.
they don't say that though,
Failed
do
the
they?
test, man.
They don't say that, do they? They say, "Wow, what a noble soul. He went to heaven."
He said. He also said if he wanted them to wanted him to go. He'll say that if he willed him to go, then willed him to go. That's how it's justified.
Isn't that kind of like cheesy?
Well, it's made so that way it's not
It's made,
disprovable.
yeah, it's literally made so you can't disprove it. But like, if you think about it, right? Which you think about it mostly from like what happens around you, the people around you. Then you're like, huh? That doesn't really make much sense, now does it? But then like, if you have the Bible Belt on, right? They'll bring out the big boy hand, give you a slap, and be like, "This is the Bible verse that goes to it," and you'll be like, "Well, this Bible verse is wrong because of this," and then they'll bring you to another Bible verse, and it just is infinite because they don't want to believe there's a plot hole with the Bible. There's nothing wrong with it. It's perfect because it's God's word, right? Perfect. And every
Well, the
single
Bible's
way.
been changed so many times.
Yeah,
every
but
time it's been-
exactly what I was about to say. The Bible has been changed for like the past 10,000 years. And my example for that is, you know that game that you played in school called Telephone? Where you would start at one person and they'd get told a sentence, right?
Yeah.
And by the got to the end of the other person, it'd be something completely different.
Well, here's the thing, right?
Now that's
Like,
that's a bunch of people in a room, right? In the span of a couple minutes. Well, this is a bunch of people in gigantic congregations spread across the world, transcending like the entire world, spread across
Translating different
thousands of
languages.
years. Yes, translated in different languages. But no, dude, like the one that we follow, like the Christian Bible, like over in North America, New King James Version, right? That's the right one.
Dude, here's
Yeah,
well,
that's
here's
the right one. No other version, none. But
isn't it? Okay.
And if you read that Bible, like technically, if you praise any god besides the God, you're wrong, right?
wrong.
No.
Yeah,
Like,
100%.
You're
You're
going
wrong.
to hell.
Guys,
Look, it's proven.
listen to this, right? If you're a Christian, you're pretty much told that if you worship friggin' like Allah, right? Well, then you're gonna go to hell.
Yeah, but here's
God.
here's the
But
best.
Allah is their Arabic word for God.
Yeah,
It's the same-
exactly. It's the same damn
Yep.
thing. And if you read the Quran, up
What?
to a point,
dude.
up to a point, it diverges. And when it diverges, you start to notice something. You know how like over in Iran and the Quran, Saudi Arabia, all Muslim places. There's a lot of Muslim places, right?
Yeah.
In that Quran, you know how the Quran's been changed. Same, just like everything else, the Quran's been changed. Especially the case when you get talking about like, let me give a prime example. Like when you get talking about terrorist groups, right? You think the Quran that they follow is the same Quran that all the rest of the Muslims follow? Fuck no. And do you think the Bible that Roman Catholics follow and the Bible that Baptists follow is the same Bible? Fuck no. And do you think that the same one that Jehovah's Witnesses follow and I'm trying to think of another denomination, and the
Jews.
Pentecostals follow is the same? Yeah, the Jews are a prime example. The Jewish Bible and like the Bible we follow, which are like the Jewish Bible is supposed to be the root of all of them, correct? Are different.
And a lot of people are like, Jews are wrong.
But Jesus was a Jew.
Yep.
The guy that you're saying saving your soul is a Jew. And if you don't remember, you had to sacrifice so many goats on the Sabbath in order to get that free pass. And there wasn't really even a heaven, it was just you ain't going to go to hell, pretty much. Like, that was kind of it. And that's how it's been wrote, you know?
Oh my.
There wasn't really a heaven, and then like it suddenly magically exists. And then like Revelation, I'm pretty sure it says the heaven's going to be on earth after Jesus comes back, and it says nobody's going to come back until after Jesus comes back, right? Well, that's not what the church tells you. Now, can anybody here tell me what the church tells you?
And you just go to heaven straight.
As long as you ask Jesus to forgive you of your sins, right?
Yeah. Well, it depends on. You see, that's also a thing. It depends on where you go.
Yeah, but like guys, look at it like this, right?
Doesn't that just prove my point? What you just said depends on where you go, and
it's
no
like
denomination can get along with each other. I wonder why. No, the Bible's never been
no
changed.
actual denomination of the
No,
same.
guys, listen, right? So like the original like idea of the Bible, go to heaven as long as you've seen Jesus as your Lord and Savior right for death, right? But then it's like if friggin' Adolf Hitler right before he died was like, yep, Jesus is my Lord and Savior. And I worship God. Does he get to go to heaven?
No, dude. But then there's like the Christian version of it, right? Where there's a karma scale, right? That's like the 7 deadly sins. But the 7 deadly sins is in the Old Testament. And guess what? Guess what people don't want to follow? The Old Testament.
Yeah, the Old Testament.
And like the commandments, like thou shalt not murder. Like that's what we follow, the commandments. But there was more than just 10 commandments. You can look that one up. I don't even remember how many there were. But I know it was more than 10.
We just only follow the 10 that we liked.
Yeah, exactly. We decided on what we liked. But if you think about it, the Old Testament and the New Testament, like when was the New Testament written?
It was written after the Old Testament.
No, that's not what I mean. I'm talking about the time spacing.
I don't even remember. It just.
Well,
it's
the
not
start of the New Testament was when Jesus was born, right?
Oh yeah, the start of the New Testament was it was after he's born.
Well, isn't it kind of odd? Like around the time Jesus was born was when like people were starting to big brain think everything out.
Well, I remember that it is said that after Jesus was born, the world became more pure. Because they were trying to backpedal for the Old Testament. The Old Testament where,
That's what I'm saying. They're trying to backpedal for the Old Testament because the Old Testament, like, you weren't even, like, really going to go to heaven. There really isn't even a heaven in the New Testament. Like I said...
Like, in the Old Testament, the only way into heaven is you had to, like, sacrifice 18...
That's what I'm saying. You got to sacrifice, like, a goat on top of a mountain. You got to sacrifice, like, so many goats per week.
And then the New Testament was like, actually, you just got to intervene, harden, and then... help my soul, and then boom, instant heaven, buff out 100 instead of like having to kill your son.
Isn't that jank?
Here's another thing to think about, right? So like nowadays, right, we attribute 666 as the mark of the beast. That's what the Bible says, right? 666 is mark of the beast. Mm-hmm. But if you go back and look at the old variants before it was translated, there is very, very obvious signs that the original number was 616 as the mark of the beast. It was simply changed because 666 is just more rhythmic.
But nothing has ever been changed in the Bible because you can't change the Holy Scripture.
It's more ominous.
Oh my God, no! But you can't change the Holy Scripture. What are you talking about, Jordan? It's never been changed, dude. But that's why there's like a bazillion denominations that all follow a different Bible, because the Bible's never been changed. But you know what denominations say about other denominations?
Oh my!
They say we don't agree with what their Bible says, but they're still going to heaven. Unless you're like Pentecostal, where you're going straight to hell.
I have like mild connection. Hey,
What?
Mm-hmm.
Looks like I have.
Dude,
So-
wouldn't it suck if like none of my audio was being recorded this entire time?
Oh, you're recording?
Yes! I've been recording this
Oh.
entire time. Why do you think I'm having big brain discussion, dude? I'm super deadass,
Oh.
so we need to have big brain discussion, dude. I'm gonna post this up on YouTube and send it to Bmoju server. I'm gonna call it Big Brain 100, and that way you guys can watch it back and like think about all the points that was made, and be like, But as I was saying earlier, though, like the Bible is good for people that need something to believe in.
Yeah.
And what denomination you like depends on where you were raised and how you were raised. And I told my mom this. I was like, Mom, this is what I told her when I was going to Ballard Christian School when I was young. I was like, don't tell my grandma this, but this is what I believe. And this is this is when I was like true Christian 100, dude. And nobody told me this. I thought about it. I was like, Mom, this is what I believe. I think when the Bible says that you're not allowed to worship false idols, I honestly believe that all gods are exactly the same, except for maybe the ones that are super evil. That's what I told her.
Hey, I'm back.
Alright.
I had to I closed out Discord and opened it back up because I was red barring in the voice connection, and like all I heard from you, Nathan, was like ooh.
Well, what I was saying is I told my mom when I was going to Ballard Christian, I was super Christian. This is what I told her. I was like, Mom, I don't think that the God that we're following, I think the God we're following is the right God, but I think everybody else is also following the right God. I think they're all the same gods, unless it was like unless it was super evil, is what I told her.
Yeah, I mean, I proposed that theory up in school, and like me and my friends were talking about that. It's like, you know, what if all the gods are the same in this context? Because
You know why? Because nobody wants to say, well, this person's going to hell.
mhm.
But if our religion's the only right religion, right? Normal Christianity, dude, everybody in the world's going to hell besides us.
Yeah,
But
Well, like,
but Buddhists
it's
don't
like
even
if-
believe in that shit.
I mean, the thing that gets me is the whole my religion's the only religion kind of thing. You know,
But like, there's people that believe this, Caleb. People don't think about it, and you know why they don't think about it? Because if they thought about it, it'd break their religion.
yeah, they
You
thought
can't
about
have
it.
free thought in religion, I don't believe.
Because
And that's
critical
how
thinking.
that's how Jehovah's Witnesses are formed. But even then, like, they have some pretty jank shit in their Bible.
Yeah, but like, here's the thing, right? The only I was free thinking is when the religion strictly says that free thinking is allowed and expected, like, right? When
They
it's
say
like,
that, well,
when the religion straight says anything proven by science is true, but some things, you know, things are this way because I made it this way.
Well,
I'll
know?
tell you-
what about the classic, like, well, free will and free thinking was given to you by Satan himself? But
yeah, they say that you were given free will by God to go against that free will.
that's
That
such
way,
bullshit.
they say they give you that free will
Okay,
to not use that free will, so
Explain to
you
me
pass
the first
the test.
chapter,
You pass
the
the
first
God
chapter
test.
of the Bible. Adam and
say
Eve
that-
eat the fruit off the tree. Explain to me
Mm-hmm.
the first part of the Bible, Genesis. Explain to me how when they were like pretty dumbfounded to literally everything until they ate the fruit off the tree, and then that was mega sin. They were like, wow, we should put clothing
Yeah.
on because we're fucking naked.
Well, here's the thing. It's because like you're supposed to be stupid. You're not supposed
Well,
to.
that was because that was the whole point. That was the interpretation. There were many interpretations, but one of the interpretations of Genesis, you know, the fruit what symbolized the option of free will, and in your indulgences and your wants and desires. Taking that fruit kind of gives into your desires.
But let me ask you this, Big Brain 100 right here. I just thought about this. If the fruit gave you free will, then why do they choose to eat the fruit?
I think they chose to eat the fruit because, actually, I think it was
But if
because
it gave them free will, and God punished them for pretty much having free will, then why do they have free will to eat the fruit to begin with?
No, they.
it's kind of a contradiction, isn't it?
Well, the Bible straight up says that, you know, Satan comes and he's like some kind of jank thing, and he's like,
There's a
that's
serpent.
it. And well, no, he wasn't supposed to be a snake at first because God apparently took his
people are
legs
like-
and made him a snake
People
for
are
doing
like
it.
super scaly snake, right? That's spooky. That's spooky. Let's put that in there. That should be our main antagonist that literally
That's
sends
spooky.
you
Let's get it.
that sends you into a fire pit that burns you forever and you straight up die in. A snake, dude. You know what people think of when they think of snakes? Poison. They think, shit, I better not fuck around with that there snake. Like,
you know what they think of snake? Ew, that's weird.
Nah, dude. Here's the thing. This is the straight up. Now this is gonna sound jank, but this is like what I heard from like one Bible thing. Is friggin' Satan, like snakes used to have legs, and Satan would take the form of a snake. And when he told them to eat the apple, God was like, "I'm mad. You don't have legs." And Satan was like, "Well, this sucks."
That was my apple. You took it from me.
dude, it was God's apple. He actually wanted them to eat it, but just because the legless snake came up and said, "You can eat that apple," he got fucking pissed.
It's like, yo, you know you can eat that, right? What, really? Yeah, dude. Alright. Yo, why you eat my apple for, dog?
But also, why would God, the ever-knowing creator, put the apple in there to begin with if he didn't want that to happen? But that must mean that he gave us free will, right? Huh,
No,
but eating an apple gives you free will.
No, Nathan, listen, Nathan, this is what happened, right? He hits up your boy Satan. They're really good friends. He's like, hey, Lucifer, what's going on, man? He's like, yeah, what's going on, mate? And he's like, you know, I'm going to be trying to put in some humans in here. What do you? Yeah, that could be pretty cool. Oh, all right, man. I'm going to try it out. You make sure they don't mess with my apples, right, man? I'm kind of hungry and I want to eat those in a few minutes. All right, I'll make sure they don't. Like, and then they get there. He leaves. Hey, you see those apples? Yeah, they're really good, dude. Me and your boy be eating them all the time. You should try one. Oh, really? Yeah. And then they eat one. And he's like, I swear, I told them not to do it. They wouldn't listen.
Well, like, all right. Like, think about it like this though. Also, like, all right, God is forever and ever, right? He literally lasts forever. You're not supposed to question that. He was there before and is and always will be forever and ever.
I wonder what the elite boneless role is.
But if he was there forever, always, and ever, okay. Say, when did Saltine Cracker become a boy? Was that in an add-on DLC? Because I actually don't remember your boy Saltine Cracker being in the Bible. Like, actually, I don't remember the entire story. Like, is the story in the Bible? Like, where Satan is a fallen angel? Is there an actual chapter about that?
No,
I don't think so.
But where did that story come from? Was that the add-on DLC, like the $4.99 package, premium edition?
Nah, dude. Nah, you had to buy it with an apple. That's why he was so mad when they ate
scary,
it.
though?
What?
So there was the city of sin, right? Like it was
Sodom,
right.
Sodom and Gomorrah, right? The city of sin, where the gays fucked each other in the asshole, right? Like,
Yeah.
and then he turned, like, the dude, he said, "Turn your eyes, or you will turn into salt." And he didn't turn his eyes. He turned into literal salt. He turned into salt. He turned into salt, dude, just like everybody in Overwatch.
Dude, that's how the Overwatch
Turn
thing.
your eyes. You can turn into salt.
That's basically what you said, was it not?
That is though. Is it don't look back or you'll be turned into salt? And then Lot's wife looked back.
She was like, "Wow, you told me not to look back. What's first human nature? Let's look back."
And then he Thanos snapped his fingers and then she became salt. Like, God is brutal in the Old Testament. He's like, boy, I told you not to look back. Boom,
Boy.
now you're salt. You were just salt.
Look at this guy with the Korean name. We're gonna
And
figure
then,
out the
and then
Korean-
Lot's like, oh my God, my wife.
It's
He
salt.
looks back, boom, salt.
But
And
like,
everyone else that was
but you
with him was like,
think-
oh goodness,
you
looks
think-
back,
You
boom,
think if
salt.
God, you think if God, you think if God was like, "Don't look back," and then he realizes he loves his wife, which is part of human emotion, you know, love and compassion. He'd think,
Can't
"Wow,
do that, dude.
my boy Lot, dude, he loves his wife. His wife looked back, she turned into salt. He's like, my wife, God."
And he looks back at his wife, but it's looking back at the city, so he's like, oh no, salt mode. Like, imagine slowly being turned into salt.
It doesn't
like-
even say how they're turned into salt because the Bible has to be PG.
Oh no,
right?
no, he like snaps his fingers and they are salt.
Yeah, they just become salt. I am become salt.
But does that mean he goes to heaven, or does that mean they just
No,
they just
no, he
die?
went to hell. Like but that was before hell was a thing, and like hell's I don't really think it's still a thing. Unless
So
you're
he
talking
went
about
to,
like
like,
fiery
he-
furnace
he-
land
his
and fire
soul
and
got
brimstone, which is in the last the Revelations, the final testament of the Bible. Unless you just like count the Dead Sea Scrolls that were found in the cave by the Dead Sea. And so, wow, isn't that pretty ironic? The Dead Sea Scrolls are found at the Dead Sea, which is this little salt mine, dude. The Dead Sea is actually something Gomorrah can confirm.
Alright, I'm going to go ahead and leave now.
All those crispy bodies, dude, they turn into a salt ocean. They turn into a salt pond. And Lot, before he turned into salt, dude, he chucked some scrolls down a hole, and that hole became a cave over 15,000 years. It like in the Dead Sea Scrolls, dude, it like adds on to the Bible. It's like the extra premium DLC package,
It's
right?
like Bible Plus.
Bible Plus, but they don't count it. They don't count it. It doesn't exist.
Bible
dude.
2.
Bible 2.0. Bible
Hey,
Revision 2.0.
If the
Bible
Bible was so
Reloaded.
good, why isn't there a sequel?
Well, if you think about it though, like the New Testament was Bible Plus, right? And then like the Dead Sea Scrolls is Bible Plus Plus, so Bible 3.0.
Not Adam and Steve.
Oh god. Well, you know they're changing that now too, though. Like Deadass, dude, the churches are like coming together and letting gay people in there. So you know that entire part of the Bible, yeah, that's going to be rewritten out.
Well,
Can't change that Holy Testament, though.
Christianity is supposed to be tolerant of everyone, but also tolerant of anybody, not tolerant of anybody who's not part of their cult.
I remember I make someone mad once in school because
I'll be back.
All right.
so basically they was someone said GD and they got mad and they was like I'm Christian and I would prefer you not say that because you know I'm going to get mad. And then they said it again and she was like, if you don't stop I'm going to punch you in the face. And then they got mad because I said, wow, that's very Christian of you. If you don't believe what I believe, hurt you.
I'm going to get mad at you and punch you in the face. That's so Christian-like, right?
Yes. It
Makes
was,
total
it was
sense.
but like that's just how it is.
That's how it be. Oh wow, but you know maybe that's like what maybe that's like the true Bible coming out, dude. The part where you had to sacrifice the goats to sacrifice your sons and you turn into literal salt. You know, like all the bad shit in the Bible, maybe that's coming out. Because you know humans are perfect being or try to be perfect beings because that's like the whole point of like the New Testament. You're trying to be perfect like Jesus, but you can't be perfect, right?
Yes.
Well, humans are naturally predatory. I wonder why they're naturally predatory. It's not like we came from any species that was naturally predatory at any point in given point in time, did we? Nah. We just like war for no reason in particular. Because humans really do like war.
Yeah.
We like fighting each other. We like having that BDE contest. But you know, but with the Bible Plus edition, you're not allowed to have that BDE contest because we took out the sacrificing of the goats for you to not even really go to heaven because the heaven didn't exist, and I don't even think a heaven really exists in the New Testament, like it said in the Revelation. Unless you know I read the Bible wrong. Maybe I missed a part.
You missed the expansion.
Yeah, the DLC, right? Like where Saltine and Cracker was cast aside from normal old big boy God Kingdom. I really do want to know if that's in the Bible anyway, because I swear it's not. But you know, I could be full of shit.
If Caleb not leave, then we could have had him check.
Yeah, I know, but we're in the middle of a match.
Yeah.
But I really don't feel like that was in there.
I do not think now.
Like, did you read all of the Bible?
No, I read bits and pieces.
I
I've
read
never actually.
90% of it.
My family is like supposed to be very, very Christian, very like especially my dad, very Christian. Because he's like hardcore America, but
They're really
I
not.
never. I never read it. I'm oh, another thing. A lot of people say that your religion is like based off of where you're born and how you're raised, but like my mom and dad are like both super Christian. But
Well, it doesn't mean you can
I'm
break
not.
out of it. You can't break out of it, dude. Like I said, dude, I was raised super Christian way. It doesn't mean I just didn't break out of it.
Yeah.
And that's where the whole argument earlier, where you can just critical think, you know. Unless you've never had the chance to critical think, which maybe now that I think about it, that might be like the true low IQ, the true no intelligence. Is that you just, even if you have the opportunity to give it to you, you can't ever learn to critical think. Because who knows? Like I used Albert as an example. Who knows if I was in Albert's shoes, whether or not I would have been any different? Because for all we know, maybe there is some like jankifiability that you get when you're first born with your genetics, right? Which it obviously is, but like maybe it's so to the point like you can just buff out of situations, dude. Like that's one of your genetics. It's called the buff out ability, which I kind of don't believe. I really do believe that it's mostly based off of like everything that you're taught through life. Because Albert was like a hard Christian until I set him down and was like, you know, let me just talk to you about this. And he was like, when he heard about it, dude, he was like, you know, that doesn't seem quite right. And I'm like, yeah, it doesn't. And then I said, I ain't telling you what to believe. I said, you can believe whatever you want, but... And like your truly devoted Christian would be like, this is just God testing my faith. And because they don't think about it. They don't. They just won't. They don't want to. Because why would they want their $1 billion golden ticket to heaven to be nuked? But people also like to think that they take what they have with them to the grave.
And then like also, right, they would say that you like saying all that to him and like talking to him about that, you know, you're just like Satan and you're like testing them.
Yeah, Satan's got a smooth tongue, dude, so I'm literally Satan because I have a smooth tongue.
That them like coming up with all this stuff and like talking about another religion, and you're Satan, and
like that's why I solely believe that, you know, that's why I'm agnostic atheist. You know, I like to believe that there is something out there, and I don't know if it's your God, my God, somebody else's God. I don't really have a God, but you know what I mean.
yeah.
But I'd like to believe there's something more to it. But you know, like there's really like a low probability chance in my mind. But I also don't want to believe that like there's just this one predominant God that literally controls all of life. And if you don't believe in him, you're going to a fire pit in the ground that you're going to fucking die in forever and ever and ever and ever. And like, if you think about what forever is, you can't grasp it because we don't live forever. There is no such thing as forever. The universe is finite. It's not forever. Eventually there will be an end. Kind of like in the Bible. There was an end and there's a beginning, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Well, like,
according to the Bible, like in the last bit, you'll be revived on a new kingdom that is earth by God. You're gonna sit, but it basically says you're gonna sit in the grave, right? Until you are revived by Jesus, the Son. And Jesus, the Son, will make a new kingdom on earth after a big, gigantic battle. You know, which people, you know the whole rapture thing that people believe in.
yeah.
That all the righteous souls will rise up. You know, in the rapture, like if you actually think about it, you know what part of the rapture is? People rising out of their graves. So where are you at before you rise out of your grave? In heaven?
Yeah, your soul just gets brought back down.
Why?
You go to heaven to train.
And if heaven is like this luxurious pimp pad, right, where you got your $1 billion Playboy gold mansion, right? Which, if you didn't notice, that's like earthly possession right there. That's an earthly thing, the whole like mansion idea. But you're also supposed to have like a heavenly body where all you're going to be doing is singing choir songs, praising God all day, every day, and you're not going to know any better. That sounds pretty fucking boring to me, dude. But I guess that's also like my worldly side talk because I'm Satan. But that ass sounds pretty boring.
This will heal you.
And then like you also have the other interpretation of hell where it's like your boys your boys, you might be getting tortured, but you're down there with your boys, the demons, and the demons like to party, dude. And the demons are pretty fucking fun. And the demons they cuss and they hoot and holler and they have a good time. But up in heaven, dude, you're just gonna be sitting up there praising the angels. That's it, praising God. You know, praising God with the angels. Why
like,
you can't be an angel? Because God fucking made you.
Well, see, the thing is, right? I don't really like talking much about it, but it is something that has come to come to mind. So hang on, let me collect my thought. Okay, so like basically, the thing with heaven is it's above, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like you go up,
you're going around in a circle.
Well, you like go up and you hit space, right?
Yeah. Where's it
Thing
at?
with hell. Hell is like super fiery and it's underground, right?
So it's the
But
core,
it's like
the core of the earth.
But the core of the earth. Yes, like there, under earth, if you go straight down, it's actually super hot. And that thought was come up with before people like know about core of earth. If you get you know what I'm saying, like it.
How did they come up with that thought?
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you how they come up with that thought. They're like that big fiery ball in the sky. What if the ground underneath of us, there's a big fiery ball in the sky down there, and it's hell? But also, if you didn't realize, like I said, hell really isn't in the Bible. There's fire and brimstone, but that's in like the New Testament. And then there's like the fiery furnace and the fiery lake, but that's translation. So who the fuck knows what it originally meant? God knows if it meant like the molten earth. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So what you're saying would make sense if it was truly like that, but you can't travel back like 15,000 years in the past before they even knew, right?
Yeah.
Can't even say that, could be even further. To when they were first writing this shit, right? And you can't really be like, wow, that's how they came up with that. And I have a feeling if you could, dude, you'd be like, this is a bunch of bullshit. This is just some dude like writing some shit down and he's fucking insane.
No, but like here's the thing, right? So like let's go ahead and say that like 100% hell is real, okay? So like, but would that mean that the only way they know someone actually know 100% real, okay, is if they see it, right?
Yes.
So does that mean first person to write Bible is a demon from hell?
Biology, yes. Unless get this, Jordan. It's all make believe.
No.
Like,
Satan,
what you're
Satan,
saying is, like, this was before they even knew it, and they just wrote it down. But God, what Christianity would tell you would be that they had a vision from God, and God told them this is what it was meant to be, and that's how everybody explains the conception of the Bible. They say God enlightened somebody to write it down.
No, like Satan just straight writes it. He's like, yeet. He's like, what if I make this big meme and I write this stupid book and give it to a bunch of humans and see what happens.
You know, like at that point, dude, you know what you should read. Like, to be honest, I've thought about it. Like the Satanic Worship Bible, like what Satanists read, like the actual Satanic Bible. I wonder what they have wrote in there. That it was written by some dude and it's all fake.
It does depend though, because there's like multiple versions of Satanism compared to like multiple, like there's only like one Christianity, but like multiple Satanism. They all have the same premise, but like what you do is different, right? So like there's
what do you
normal.
do if you're a Satanist, dude? Because like the way Christianity depicts people is like they're like fucking over killing virgins, murdering people, like fucking raping people, like literally everything that happens in the Bible, you know, in the early phases, except they're doing it right now. But do you think Satanists are actually out there like in a cult, like worshiping around some Babylon statue, like, oh, praise Satan, you know, with their black outfits on, like going out and doing a witch hunt to kill some virgins in the midnight hour?
Here's the thing, right? So there's normal like Satanism, you know, like there's obviously a bunch of different,
just like religion, huh?
Conceptual one. But then there is what is spiritual Satanism, and spiritual Satanism is basically like, it basically goes upon the point that like a decent part of the Bible, like Testament, they basically believe in the Old Testament that it's true, but that the New Testament, from like basically Jesus on, is all just a bunch of BS, and like all of it's fake, and then they are like, and then basically it's like, which I get, right? Because the New Testament's when everything's like God's good,
super happy, and then it went from like being super bad to being super happy, right?
yeah, and like the thing with spiritual Satanism, it straight up says that you don't even have to like, people who were considered spiritual Satanists don't even worship the devil. They just see him as, they just kind of see him as manipulative, but they don't like worship him or anything, right? Like you can be like, yep, you know, I talked to Satan yesterday and he helped me, he lent me a little bit of money so I can pay for my rent last week. But like you don't have to like praise Satan. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have, you know, it's like it's like my neighbor Satan gave me a bit of money to pay rent.
But doesn't this just sound like basically what Christianity is, except a little bit different?
Pretty much.
Like the main antagonist goes from being God to being like Satan, saltine cracker.
But it's like, I don't know, it's like, it's weird because the less that it follows the Bible, the more sense it makes, right? But it's like, the less that it follows Satanism, the more sense it makes. Spiritual Satanism is like right in the middle.
Yeah.
It makes the most sense, right? It's like, you know, it's like the Old Testament's legit. You actually had Christians who actually believe in God, and they actually like did all this sacrifice and crap. That's reasonable. I could see it. You know.
And then you say the Old Testament's crap, right? Because
it's like
they don't believe
New
it, right? Because somebody wrote it, right? But like, what about the First Testament? Who wrote it? The Old Testament? Like, what? You see the problem?
They're basically like the point of it is that like the Old Testament, you know, it was like jank, and it's like
they're
like
good.
A lot of the Old Testament doesn't make much sense, right? They're like, you know, when they said this wasn't true, you know, like they said that it wasn't true, and then they're like, the New Testament, dude, that's a bunch of straight BS though. Like, don't even read that. They're like Jesus, he wasn't nothing, dude. He didn't do anything.
I don't know why it's so funny to me, dude, but like just the idea that there's some fucking people out there that like they believe in the Old Testament, but they're like straight up calling the bullshit at the same time. They're like, this is fake. How can they call the bullshit and believe that it's fake at the exact same time? Like that's so stupid.
Like, they just think they like only believe bits and pieces of it. It's like they're basically like,
so religion, normal religion. It's like normal religion with extra steps, dude. Because normal religion, you know, Christianity is come down to like you believe this part and I don't believe that part.
Well, it's like I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's like basically it's like. Oh, also, like, with spiritual Satanists, because of spiritual Satanism, this is something I read up on because I was in at one point. Because someone was like, I was talking to someone about religion, and they was like, oh yeah, I'm a spiritual Satanist. And obviously I didn't want to be like, hit him with the boy hand until I read up, you know.
So that's where you got your research at. I was wondering how you knew about all this.
I like searched up a site, and I found the official site for spiritual Satanism. It was like super jank. I think I might have it bookmarked somewhere. I don't know.
Dude, it sounds like a meme review of Christianity. You know? That's straight up what it sounds like. It sounds like it's a straight meme review. It's like, let's take normal Christianity, let's do the critical thinking part, but let's not do it all the way, you know? Let's like still leave some bits that we like to believe, but we also think we don't believe. Because like that's pretty dumb, you know? But let's not go all the way. And actually, let's change it around to the point where we like it, but we don't like it. Well, you see what I mean?
Sorry, who's that guy talking about?
What guy?
He was like, I don't know, something about like someone thinks they're good.
Who?
That's what I said. Oh, I said it in Korean. My bad. I forgot about that. I didn't mean to do that. I legit didn't mean to say who in Korea.
I'm wondering now, but anyways though, like, you understand what I'm saying when I say it's like the meme review of Christianity.
Yeah.
It's like you like.
No, I don't. I actually don't because all the stuff that I need to put up,
It's like you take your normal Christianity, you add some extra steps, you start worshiping a different person. You worship saltine cracker instead of God, I guess, right?
Well, I mean, like, it's not really
Or
worship.
Yahweh or Jehovah. But exactly, it's not even like really worshiping. It's just like, but it is. If you're
I'm back, by the way.
if you pray to Satan, right? You pray to him, right? And then you like, Satan, give me some of this or give me some of that, and then you get something through normal means, just how any other Christian would obtain it, right? You get it via normal means, and you're like, God is good, but except in this reverse, you'd be saying Satan's good. Would you not?
Well, like with spiritual Satanism, it's a little bit different. Like,
How
it's
is
pretty
it?
much. Well, when you read it, it's straight up. It's like, you know, it straight up tells you, it's like, you know, don't, unlike most religions, feel free to question things. You know, life is supposed to be questioned, and things are left unsaid so that humans can figure it out. That's
Wait, you
the
guys
point
talking
of
about
life.
Satan?
Yes.
Spiritual Satanism, because it's the only one I've read up on. Because I found some guy who he basically said he was spiritual Satanist, and I didn't want to give him the boy hand. Okay, now that you're caught up on why I know about it, so basically, it's like,
Life is meant to be questioned, right?
yeah, it's like basically they.
Okay, so why would you believe anything that they're saying if life's meant to be questioned?
Well, like it's kind of jank. It's like, you know, basically it says that it's like he kind of created Earth, right? He was like, Earth, people, now go do your own thing. I don't care. It's almost like it's like I said, like you see him as omnipotent, but you don't like worship. You know, you understand that he's there and he's God, right? And like he understands what you're doing and he's going on, but like you also don't have to worship him, and you can give him the big finger. You can be like, yeah, mate, go kill yourself, faggot. You know, my kid just died and it's your fault. I hope you drop dead. And be like, yeah, you're right, my bad. Like he won't say anything about it. Like that's the thought of spiritual Satanism. Is it's straight like you don't worship him.
I'm
You
gonna say
don't
this
see
right
him.
now.
You don't really treat him higher, but it's like you do have an understanding that he's omnipotent. They like
He's a
he.
what?
You basically have like the thought that he's existing, and then he like.
So it's essentially having God, but without the jank steps. It's like I said,
It's God, but with free will. Okay, I'm going to go now.
All right.
I'm going to go sleep because it's like I didn't know what time it was.
This is the third time you said I'm going to go now.
Yeah, but then like you guys kind of pulled me back in.
Yeah, but the
'cause
last
of, like,
time you said I'm gonna go and you straight up left, and you could have left then, but like then you come back and like 3 seconds later you're like I'm gonna go.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go now.
All right. Well, before you go, no, I would ask you, but like I don't want to because you will never go.
All right, subscribe to PewDiePie. Bye bye.
All right.
Don't subscribe to PewDiePie, guys. That's gay. I already subscribed to TD. Or wait, no.
Anyways, continue on what you were saying, Jordan.
What was the last thing I said?
You were talking about spiritual Satanism and how like you don't have to follow it, but you know he
so, like,
exists.
Yeah, it's like basically you understand that he's omnipotent, and then like it's basically like you understand that he's above you, right, and that he exists, or above. You understand that he exists and that he oversees what you're doing, but like you don't worship him. Like Satan gave me this, Satan gave me that. It's more of a, like, oi mate, I'd really like to earn some money, and then like you get a job and you're like, yeah, it could have been him, could have just been coincidence.
Okay, but like, what do you get from it at the end of the day, though? Because like most religions have to have a stipulation or a catch, right?
Well, that you just get an afterlife.
What afterlife? Which one?
You go to hell and you get freaky.
You go to hell and you get freaky?
I don't actually know. I didn't read that before.
But you get an afterlife, correct?
Yeah, you should.
You should. You see what I mean? Like, there's no point to having a religion if you don't get like a jank afterlife. Because us human beings, we're selfish creatures. We want that jank afterlife. Like, it's like that premium penthouse mansion, you know? I guess like Satanism is kind of eluding if you paint it like that, right? Because instead of Premium Worship Center, you go to Premium Free Will Center, where you can just basically be who you were on the earth instead of being like this soulless being, even though it's your soul.
Which, that explains why Christians hate Satanism so much. It literally tells them that, you know, like, to do what they want, and that, like, not the Bible, just do your own thing, which is exactly what the Bible says that you shouldn't do, pretty much.
I mean, it ain't changing my opinion that I don't believe anything exists.
Yeah, obviously. Nah, Nathan, you need to change your opinion right now, right?
And like, I don't know what your opinion is, Jordan.
I'm not gonna say.
Not gonna say.
Not gonna say.
You're Satanist.
I'm not gonna say.
You're straight Satanist.
I'm not gonna say.
Why else would you know everything about this?
Cause ye.
Well, you know, it doesn't sound bad.
Say again, you cut out after you
I said
said
it doesn't sound bad in comparison.
Yeah.
Because in comparison, like, Christianity paints it like it's a bottomless hell zone, and then you have that just paints it like, well, we agree with this and we don't agree with this, and this person exists, but, you know, you're not going to burn in like the fire forever and ever, and your choice to believe in it is completely yours and yours alone.
Yeah, it's like, if you don't believe, whatever. And like, they endorse science and everything as well. They're like, yeah, science is real, it's legit, you know? It's like, if you come up with a new scientific discovery, you're not going to be like, science doesn't exist, because it's straight up like, yeah, science is a thing, you know?
Well, see,
you make something.
I could also see why you'd want to believe in like that, because like you get your free will and you don't have to be in the praise choir 24/7, and you can do what you want.
Oh, save your roll, by the way.
Or you know, you just believe that there's literally nothing. Like there's a couple choices, right? Or you could become Buddhist, or like believe in you could become Buddhist. You could believe in reincarnation, Hindi, you know, all that.
Yeah, like
you can believe in
save your roll and menial combo. I'll grab and you'll hog.
Well, there's two down there.
Alright, jump down and give me laser beam.
Surrender to my will.
Wow, there's not really anybody here, is there?
I've never used Zarya's.
Save it.
I'm not gonna.
You're not gonna save it?
No, I mean, like, I'm not gonna use it.
Yeah, like there's like one person here. I don't think it'd be useful.
No, we have to use both of our rolls.
Hold up, there's three people right up here. Launch it straight up. Oh, dead ass fucking rest. But you know, like as human beings, you really don't want to believe that like there's literally nothing, right? You don't want to believe like the bottomless pit, there's nothing.
Yeah.
And that's where like the agnostic atheism comes in, where you know there could be something, there could be nothing, right? And then like your full blown atheism is there's literally nothing. And people like to confuse Satanism with atheism.
Yeah. Well, when you think about it, right, in a jank spiritual Satanism, like agnosticism, is kind of the same.
It's kind of the
like,
same.
yeah, like believe what you want. It could be, it could not. Like this is what we generally think, but it could be whatever. Generally, it's the same concept.
But it's still based off of, you know, the Bible in a way, shape, or form, which is human scripture, and like there's no like guaranteed proof that it's otherwise. Which is where they believe it and if you want part comes in, but the Christian Bible doesn't really give you that option. It's either you believe in this shit or you go fucking hell.
Or you're going to hell and you want to die.
Yeah, you're gonna burn.
Roasted.
Like, and to nobody ever does that sound like a good thing, does it?
That's why everyone wants to believe in it, because no one wants to go and die. And
yeah, exactly. And why would you question it if that's the case? You wouldn't, because like you're gonna fucking burn, dude. That's gonna suck ass. But you're thinking once again with that human body, right? That human mind. And if there's nothing, right? Then what are you worrying about? But if there's something, then you're like, oh, there's a reason to worry. And that's just your humanity coming out, right? It's like there's one part that says, well, there's nothing, and there's one part that says, well, there could be something, and that's where like the agnostic atheist comes in. And I really, honest to God, I believe that people that are true atheists really aren't true atheists.
Yeah.
Because people still want to believe that there is something, in some sense or manner. Because if you live your life like to the point where there's literally nothing, you probably gonna kill yourself.
Yeah.
Because then like all you have to look forward to would be like, pretty much all you have to look forward to would be nothing. But then again, at the same time, isn't nothing kind of, having nothing to look forward to is kind of nice. Because then you should live your life to the fullest. You know, that's the general concept that I have. Live your life to the fullest so you can still live your life. And here I am playing Overwatch.
Yeah. Talking about religion while super dead and wanting to fall asleep all the time.
Really living my life to the fullest, aren't I?
Well, yeah, but you're having fun, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing, like, I actually enjoy a good discussion like this.
Yeah. It's interesting.
I mean, this is the critical thinking that I'm talking about, like, that people have.
I got you.
It's going for him, dude. Oh, it's going for oh, I activated a big old 100, dude. I was trying to hit it with it. It didn't work, though. Oh, they're over there, though.
Oh, you just gave me a lot of charge, dude.
Holy shit, how am I alive? Oh, mercy.
Well, I'm shielding you as well. I can, like I said, I can play Zarya, but I can't play Zarya.
No, I wish that Roadhog had more ammo.
And more what?
More ammo.
Oh yeah,
It
rather
really
than
feels
just
like he's got
5.
no ammo. But
5 isn't enough.
it's just good in general to have something to believe in.
That you believe in, yeah.
And that's like where the agnostic atheism part comes in, I guess. Like you don't, you do. And then straight theism is believing in God, and then Satanism is believing in that. But like, if there's several forms of Satanism, like, you know, it's like the pick your poison ordeal, right? There's so many different jank things you can believe in.
All of them support each other, right? But it's like they're also like, it's like spiritual Satanism doesn't say that Satanism is wrong. They say, yeah, it's like they're right, you know, but they're, you know, and they worship, right? But you don't have to. You can do whatever you want. It's like, yeah, that's legit, and that's what really happens. You know, it's like they're not like, yeah, no one worships Satan, but they're like,
dude, it's the buff out religion. Is what it sounds
yeah.
like. It's the buff out religion.
It's kind of the I'm Satanist, but I'm not religion.
It's like the I want something to look forward to when I die, but at the same time I really don't believe in it. Which I see why you say agnostic atheism is kind of the same way.
Yeah, it's like literally the same exact concept.
The same exact concept, except you're not following like a book of ancient passages.
Same concept, but like Satanist.
Yeah, but
I guess.
And that's where like what I was saying, like the difference between like atheism and wow, dude, I helped Hanzo. The difference between like atheism and Satanism is really big, but it's kind of small, but it's really big, dude. And like Christians believe that if you're an atheist, you're a Satanist.
Yeah.
Because there's no possible way that somebody could not believe in anything because of that humanity. Which even I said, like, I guess in a sense, like, most normal people probably do believe in something like when they die. They're like, wow, God, thank you. Or some shit. But if you never knew about it to begin with, right? Would you even think about it?
Well, it's like, think of it like this, right? It's not... It is slightly region-based, right? Because, like, people in Europe and stuff like that came up with God. People in, like, Asia decided that gods didn't exist. And people in, like, Rome and around that area...
Oh, dude, I gotta, like, go wake up Dale in a minute. And I'm definitely gonna have to stop talking about this, but... It's region-based, but... At the same time, dude, there's, like, completely different religions, right? And, like, surely all, like, might follow the same context of, like, a god or you know, a savior or some shit, right? But there's completely different religions, and like reincarnation, like the belief of reincarnation, I think it's just Hinduism. Hinduism, dude, is like really different.
Yeah.
And that's where the concept, well, this is all just human based. Because why would it not be? That's where that comes in.
Right.
And if you're like spiritual Satanist or Satanist, right, and you believe in like that level, right, where it's like it concludes with the Bible, then you're still picking a religion, and you're picking like the reverse of Christianity. It's kind of the gist. And the reverse of Christianity sounds a lot better than normal Christianity.
Mm-hmm. It is, like, theoretically, when you think of it, because it's free will, do what you want. And then just blast.
But then you like take into account Christianity, right, and what it says, and it's like, you're going to go to hell. And it, like I said though before, it's just all that human brain, dude. It's that human thinking, because nobody wants to end the suffering.
Like, Christian is like, you're gonna go to hell. Satanism's like, yeah, you are gonna go to hell. Not actually bad here. It's pretty legit.
It's not actually bad. It's pretty legit. Mega Jank 100, dude. That's all I have to say. So I don't actually have anything like truthfully wrong with it, besides for like, well, it's still based off like ancient passages that people wrote.
Yeah, but it's like
Buff out.
it's straight.
Like, it's like buff
Yeah.
out. It's like I said,
like,
it's a buff out.
It's straight like pretty much the way it works is like if someone came up with evidence that like it was false, then you can't be like, well, this religion makes no sense, because it straight up says question everything, because anything can be wrong.
And that's just like the Bible does, though, because the Bible basically says don't question anything, because if you do, see what I mean, dude? It's like the reverse.
Yeah.
Light and dark, you know.
Tim hates Overwatch. All right, so he's new to Wrecking Ball. Why did I forget? Yeah, he's new, so let's harass him.
Well, I'm Reaper for starters.
Yes.
I'm probably just gonna stop recording in the topic, because if I continue on with it, which I probably could for another hour, Dale's gonna wake up and he's gonna be like, Nathan's Satanist, atheist, this, that, and this. I'm like, I don't know that.
And you're gonna be like, oh, not me. And I'm gonna be like, eat. And you're gonna be like, oh my wa mu shindeyu. And I'm gonna be like, oh my wa mu nani.
And that right there is exactly what I'm gonna end it on. Well, whoever watches this jank-ass, dead-ass jank video will get some kind of dead-ass, jank-ass, dead-ass explanation of a lot of shit. So, that's it.